there! Bobber Morgan's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM show to you, my YouTube buddies. Our hopefully final episode of social distancing. Viewer questions. Scott, what's up?
Last one of these.
Last one. We're going to meet in person.
Last one. This has been so dumb. I hate talking to fucking Bob on a FaceTime.
It's absurd.
Well, it's all delayed. I watch myself talk in my phone, and it's 3 seconds behind, so I look like I'm a kung fu fighter.
Midmo Grow Show.
Oh, we're going right to it.
We're going right to it. Oh, we don't have to. I guess we could.
Now let's do it.
Let's do it.
Bullshit.
All right.
We'll just offend people if we talk anymore.
It would probably be best if we didn't go into what we went into.
Never.
Hey Bob, got a question for Scott. I'm wanting to try to do a top dress of one shot for veg. Does he recommend just watering, I use RO, with plain water, or would pH balance with some Gaia and Herc and Ollie at 6.5, or what? So first he's doing a top dress. He's just doing it in veg. Is that what's going on? That's common, like you do it in veg and then you start doing your bottles in as you go into bloom? Do people do that?
Oh, I got a lot of people that do that.
Okay.
I guess if he's doing a top dress, is his goal to do it just start to finish with one shot, or is he just using that as like a supplemental?
Well, it sounds like he's doing just one shot if he can, but he's concerned because of the RO, because he's getting, would you recommend just watering? I use RO. Okay, so he uses RO now. He's wondering if he should use plain water instead of the RO, and if he needs to pH, I guess is what he's saying, and would some Gaia and Herc be helpful? Obviously, that would. So we got a bunch of questions here. First of all, would you use plain water?
Depending on the water source. I mean, if your parts per million are like 900 out of your tap and the pH is 3, I probably wouldn't use that for anything.
Oh, okay.
But I would like to know more info, like the water, pH, the parts per million out of the tap versus RO. I'm not a fan of RO water. I know we've made that pretty clear in years in the past.
Yeah.
But, some people just don't have that option. They don't have a good water source. So if you do need to use RO, in the next couple weeks to come with this whole new alkalinity thing that we're dealing with and discovering, that's going to be a big chunk to this person's Midmo's info. I think if we can figure out what his water source is, what his alkalinity is, then that would make an easier answer to answer. Before alkalinity, I'd say I'd use the tap water if it's at all reasonable over RO, because what will happen is if you're using RO water in a potting soil, even with the one shot in there, it has limestone in that as well. The potting soil has limestone, but that RO water is destructured. It's naked water that's literally been stripped of all of its mineral and its alkalinity and the content. That water is going to possibly strip the alkalinity out of the one shot and out of the potting soil, and we'll find ourselves into more of an acidic situation in our slurries mid-bloom. And so I would look into my regular water, or even blending them. If your regular water isn't awful, blending the two so you're still keeping that mineral and the alkalinity in some of that water, and it's not going to just strip your soil. Anybody who's got really low pH soil right now is probably using RO, distilled rainwater, or they live in an area that has zero alkalinity naturally in their water.
So if you were doing a water only, would you still do a slurry test to look at your pH to see if it's somewhat within range?
Absolutely, because it's going to change with RO over time. A period of time. Okay. I mean, we've seen grows leaving veg with a 6.3 slurry with rainwater, and then in the third week of bloom be down to 5.2. And it's just because it's pulling that limestone out of the potting soil. It's pulling all the calcium it can to build the water structure back to make it available for the plants to drink. And if that strips your soil, then the soil's pH starts to drop. So I want to make sure they're not going to find themselves in the second week in bloom and their pH slurries are 5.5 because we've used stripped water the whole time.
So would you use Gaia to drop and Ollie to up in the soil as a water in if you had soil pH issues? Or would
that would be my first start to see if it's just something I can balance with this farmer up north. No matter what, if we were watering at 7 every single time, his slurry was still coming at 5.1, 5.2, because he can only add so much pH up before it's just too high in pH. He may have built his alkalinity back, but his pH is now out of scale, and to drop that back down, you destroy the alkalinity. Okay. So there's going to be a lot more info on this in weeks to come, and we're just sourcing out some of the parts so that when we do make this an episode, you have a link to actually go check the stuff, because right now, here's all the things you can do, and I'll figure out how to do it. Good luck, bye-bye.
So, old knowledge, what we've been working with is the pH. We've used Gaia or Olympus to make the pH, but we got new stuff coming, but in the interim, Gaia or the Olympus is how you would try to get your pH in line.
Correct those, and yes, if he's using RO water with one shot topped off potting soil, then I would definitely be pH adjusting my water.
Okay.
With those two. Ideally, I would do it with the Olympus up only if you can, because you want that alkalinity built back into the water.
Sure, okay. So just if you had to go down, though, is why you'd use the Gaia.
Or would you
use Herc?
Gaia over Hades.
Yeah.
Herc or Gaia, I'd use one or the other.
But definitely not Hades. You're going to kill all your microbes and have a problem there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Nick McCarthy. Hey, Bob. Can the Herc be used in a recirculating hydro ebb and flow setup? No.
I mean,
yes.
It can. Will you be stoked about the smell and the pH swings? Probably not, but it can.
Remember Ronald Reagan? He'd be like, yes, no, well.
Depends.
Yeah.
Depends on who you really know, is what we're saying here.
Would you use any Nectar product as a vitamin pill in your ebb and flow? If you were using
I mean, at certain doses, you can definitely run. I mean, I have growers who use Nectar in ebb and flow situations. They usually do 4 to 5 day cycles before they change out. Rarely do they do the full 7 because there's nothing left at that time, and it's all bonded. The real main thing is, one of the guys said the only way I can do it is I take one of those like spaghetti screen sieves, not even like you find like a mesh sieve.
Oh, like the thing for it's like for you put it in the top of the pot to make macaroni and cheese or something.
Yeah,
it's where the drainer thing.
Oh, with the smallest holes.
Yeah.
Possible.
It's not a sieve, but it's
through that.
Yeah.
And if you pour all your nutrients through that and kind of smash it through, then it kind of pre-breaks everything up and lets it go out and become more evenly soluble. That's probably your best bet if you're going to run ebb and flow. But if you're running house and garden or advanced nutrients, and then through Herculean harvesting that reservoir with it, that'd just not be a good idea.
Milkshake kind of thing, right? Wouldn't it react?
Freaking milky puke turds.
Yeah, not good.
No, never good.
If you're doing hydro, just do hydro.
Yeah, I've heard there's some companies are coming out with a new synthetic line for hydro.
I heard about that. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Launch and see how it goes.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
All right. Space Drews. What's up, my man? Oh boy, this is a book. Okay, so now this isn't actually a question. This is something I wanted to talk to you about. I also hate when people are poopy about having different ways of doing things. Once I saw an argument between two people on whether it was better to sleep in a hammock or a tent when camping. They got mad at each other about the way they other preferred to sleep. What a world. So, I don't know if it's even worth talking about, but my God. People can't we all just get along, I guess?
So what's the...
let's see. I think he was just mostly making a comment. He said, in my more insightful times, I think that love is all that matters. Very true.
Well,
all results vary.
Empathy is not a bad thing to have either at times, Maybe if people are a little more empathetic and maybe sympathetic, that'd be amazing. If some people could just go, hey, that's the way you do some stuff. That's awesome. It's not my way.
Well,
that's fine too.
You're not going to convince someone of your way by telling them they're stupid.
Well, no, and even if there's a way, it doesn't mean it's the way for every person.
No.
I mean, we're not all Mandalorians. It's not all the way.
No. Right? Yeah, no.
It is the way. But there's a grower in Michigan that I've always highly respected, and he Thug Pug Genetics, the former one.
Mm-hmm.
And phenomenal what the guy can do. What he puts out there is phenomenal. So everybody always asks him what he wants or what's his recipe. So he posted it to a couple growers, and then they reposted it online, and then it became a shitstorm of an attack on what an idiot this guy was. And I'm just sitting going, I don't understand that. This is why we don't have a perfect recipe. The feeding schedules are written by the customers, not us, and the reason for that is Thug Pug. He's my reason. He does the exact same feeding regimen from seedling to the end. Same dilution rates. He doesn't change a thing. And I would challenge his flour against anybody's flour. I mean, his flour stands with pig's flour on many levels. And at the end of the day, people attack, but they have no clue. And I even came out and said, if I did Thug Pug's method, all my shit would burn up and die. There's no question.
Yeah.
It would not work for me. But it works pretty damn good for that guy, and you know what? I would take his flour over 90% of the flour I see in Oregon. Yeah. So it's find your way, write it down, do your own research, and then love what you're doing and have fun. But if you're going to attack the next guy because he puts in 90 mils of Herc and you only believe in 45, shut the hell up. It's his way of doing it, your way of doing it. I don't care. Does it taste good? Are you happy with your product?
Several times I've had people where you there?
I don't know, we're freezing again.
Yeah, it's kind of coming and going, but it's still okay. I've had several times when people would ask me to show them how to do something in Photoshop, and so I would say sure, and I would sit them down and I'd be showing them, and they'd start arguing with me. And I would say, do you want me to teach you how to do this, or do you want to teach me how to do it?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And you know what? And after I'm done teaching it, then find your figure it out. How you want to go through these steps. But here's how I do it. You ask me. Yeah. And then you're mad at me for telling you how I do it. So just have some patience, people. I mean, I got guys who crush all you guys with 4 products in my product line, and I got a guy who's running a 48,000 square foot flower room, running the Roman and crushing it. So 1,000 ways to skin the cat. At the end of the day, it's a dead skinned cat.
Hallelujah.
I'm a dog guy. So thanks, Space Drew.
Yeah. So.
And he said, what about Bobo? I just realized that at some point in the last month or so, my phone started personalizing my recommendation. Oh, he's talking about your show disappeared on him. And then he says, wishing you well, Bobo. May I call you Bobo? That's the big kahuna. Yeah, you can call him Bobo. I call him Boo-Boo, Booby-Booby-Boo, and Bob.
Well, when I'm being stern with myself, I call myself Bobo. Like, Bobo, buck up.
Then you
Yes, sometimes.
Don't do that anymore. And thanks for the motivation thing. I gotta say, we do get a lot of people that flat out enjoy these videos, and I mean, we could do shout out names all day long, but I have a lot of people that email me daily to say, hey, say hi to Bob for me. Hey Bob, a lot of people said hi today.
Nice.
Alex Reynolds, Illinois says, hi Bob.
That's awesome. Cool. Het 7. You know Hetz, right? I'm not sure who it is, but it's someone that yeah, okay. Here we go. This is about what you're talking about. He says, Scott mentioned you guys are working on videos dealing with the alkalinity of water we are using. I hope it's coming out soon. It's important to test your pH, but I'm learning that water with high alkalinity can be a huge challenge. So, I mean, obviously this thing's coming out, but what is the difference between, when you say alkalinity, I'm thinking pH and the alkaline side of the scale. Is it different than that, or?
Well, it's how much calcium is suspended in the water that isn't necessarily creating the potential of hydrogen. So pH is the potential of hydrogen. Alkalinity is what is suspended in water. That's unavailable, but will become available? It's a soluble form of calcium, but it also builds your cation exchange capacity in your water relies on alkalinity to create that charge and that absorption rate. So if you have perfectly dialed in alkalinity, I mean, as Pig was saying in that last visit I had up there, he's like, man, I thought the chaos was the throttle. This is the nitrous. I mean, this literally took him from a 1 pound of light space to a 3 pound of light space, and all over a 12 to 18 month period of time when he lost his well water and had to move on to rainwater. and literally everything just went downhill fast. I have videos of just the differences of these plants from, one round to the next. And what he's showing me right now, coming down early after 45 days of watering with this magic water, just alkaline-rich water, is just shocking. I mean, it's breaking stems, it's breaking bamboo stakes, it's snapping his hangers. Definitely the biggest yield he's had in years. And now, on the same accord, my good friends down there at Heroes of the Farm South, I got a call from their head grower, and they've been crushing it for about 18 months down there, just producing good commercial flour. Well, all of a sudden, his water, or his soil slurry started just going through the roof. And I'm like, man, so pigs having it where his slurries are at 5.2 in mid-bloom. Did we freeze totally?
No, we're good.
Okay. And then, so his pHs are way down in Pig's Farm because of the alkalinity being robbed. And meanwhile, his pH is going up in Southern Oregon because their alkalinity is so high. What was happening is in his RO system, as the alkalinity was passing through his membrane, through his sediment filters, his carbon filters, they're collecting that calcium out of the water. Well, eventually they clogged up. And so it was just bypassing, putting all that alkalinity in the soil, which then adheres to the medium, and then he saw pH spike. So
he doesn't know what's going on.
Well, and then he's like pulling his hair out.
Yeah.
So he takes out his filters. Like, my filters are clean, they're beautiful, they're white. I don't understand. Well, it's white. It's calcium.
They're white, but they're actually stuffed. And there's like a bypass or something that goes through, right, when it's stuffed. Okay.
So I told him, the next one, weigh your filter going in, soak it. After 4 or 5 days, weigh it again, then put it back in. And then when it gains like 30 pounds or 30% of its weight, it's got to be full.
Yeah.
Pull it out. But once we put in his new filters, everything pulled back down, and then we started pulling the alkalinity back out, so he's back down to a normal level, and right away plants just torch right back up and everything's happy. So we're going to get back to this question with a ton of answers, because this is one that we are just scratching the surface. And like I said, once we have all the pieces that we can offer a solution to folks who discover their water issues, we want to make sure we have a backing before we try to educate them. Because we don't want you guys chasing your tail with us. Let us chase the tail. When we catch it, we're going to tell you what our ass looks like.
Yeah, and it's working already. It's just, this is a new frontier of working.
Well, let's say Pig put $210 worth of infrastructure into his grow to triple his yield. So, I mean, we all see the bottles that say 17.5%, 4% more of this and that and this. Well, this one is like, mind-boggling. But that video will be very telling, and I think as we explore this further, we do a lot more research with different farms with different levels.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to really help people get over this hump that Nectar can't yield. Because if Nectar isn't yielding, your water's screwed up. If Nectar's giving you 3 pounds of light, you're big.
Well, and you've kind of been lucked out that you're at both ends of the spectrum with it. So we've seen both sides of it, yeah.
Well, people having the same issues, but opposite sides of the spectrum, and they have opposite issues in the water.
Very cool. Okay. Mark, Holy, Teal, Field. It's one of those. Hi, Bob and Scott. I just switched my girls to 12-12. I'm running the Spartan regimen with some Athenas and some Aphrodites. I was wondering if I should cut any of them out during bloom, like the Medusas or the Gaia. Just keep running all the way through till flush. So
yeah, we don't believe in less this, more that. I mean, I would just follow the Spartan regimen and maintain that, and maybe if you're an 8-week plant, maybe at the 6.5, then cut out Gaia and Medusa and just do Herc and flush them out. But they're designed to be fed, and those two nutrients are definitely designed to be fed all the way through.
Yeah, just more of one and one more than the other. Yeah, a little Gaia, more in bloom.
Gaia bloom.
But no one really switches up, do they? Where they use Medusas at the start and Gaia at the finish and drop one or the other?
Some people do. Again, it's one of those where if you get it, you're an asshole, and if you don't do it, you're an asshole. So either way, you're an asshole. So good luck with that. Don't share.
So when you hit all the way till flush, obviously at flush we drop off, but until that point, you're using everything in there.
Yeah. And then watch your plants. If you're not paying attention, if your plants are super green in week 5, okay, reduce your Athenas and reduce your Medusa and skate them out. But if everything's looking good and healthy and you're having no issues, they're still eating up until, just because they're not growing this way, they want to go this way.
Yeah.
So keep giving them the nutrition to bulk up and be solid.
Yeah. Well, we stop growing as humans, but we don't stop eating.
Well, we keep growing.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I think the plant has like a maturity level where it's kind of grown up all of its growth, but it's still living. It's still eating,
producing. Because what people don't get is it takes so much energy to create the oils and all the trichomes and all. Those active ingredients aren't just because you grew foliage. You still have to produce that, and just because they stop producing foliage, they're just focusing on the terpenes and the oil content and the trichomes. So
probably working harder.
Well, and that's what I'd say with that Thug Pug, start to finish the exact same recipe, but I've never seen trichomes on anything outside of Mac 1 that grows that way, but his grow that way no matter what his genetics are. They all look like Velcro on top of plants. It's crazy.
So
Gromer1 on Instagram. Go check out Gromer1. He's about to retire, so if you'd like what he's
he wants some, get some.
Dude's gonna get out of the game, and that's gonna be the end of his genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if the genetics are actually that good, or if just he's that good.
Well, I think he's another situation where he's very much like a pig farmer, where I can give you the water, I can give you the nutrients, I can give you the soil, but I can't give you the heart. If you don't have the heart, you shouldn't grow wheat.
But I would think even if you're growing a genetic for someone, that same genetic coming off a super healthy plant is going to be a better genetic than the one that came off a plant that wasn't healthy.
Well, that's all he does, though, is sell seeds and top seeds. So all of his genetics aren't from clones, they're from seed.
Really? So he's got his...
It's mind-boggling. It's always a pheno hunt, but they always produce the same. It's who he is.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Because it is. It's so true. Like, with Pig, he's had people buy his product from a dispensary, so blown away with what they bought from the dispensary, they bring in a cut of their own, like their special cut.
Yeah.
Would you give this to that guy to see what he can do with what I grew? Because that's what they want to use. Is like, I want to see what the echelon of this plant is capable of.
Yeah.
Can you give him one of my cuts to see what Pig...
Nice.
Like, they're using Pig as the bar. Like, all right, well, Pig grew it to this level, I got to try to get close to that level.
I got to get close to it.
Yeah. So, it's in the human. That's what makes the big difference.
Yeah. Okay. Ezekiel Alvarez. What if I'm using synthetic nutrients such as General Hydroponics Flora Series as my base and adding nectar for the gods? Should I still be at pH of 6.3?
Well, I wouldn't mix them together. I would use my GH one day, my Flora Series one day, and then the next watering feeding, I would do a Hercules. I'd do the nectar portion of it, not just alternate.
But I guess that was what I first thought when I saw it. But when he's putting it in, he wants to. When he does his mix of his herc, he's going to pH that herc to 6.3. Absolutely. Even though it might have been 6.1 or whatever for the GH.
You wouldn't want to blend them because at 6.3, your GH is about as minimal available as possible. But at 6.0, Herculean couldn't be less available. So I would do the Herculean days at 6.3 to 6.5. And then I would do my GH at my 5.7 to 6.1.
Yeah. And it's not optimal, but it is what it is. That's the only thing you can really do, right?
Hey, what are you judging the guy's way of growing?
No.
Like you're attacking.
Not attacking. I'm just saying.
You're wrong. I'm just trying to help the guy out. Say, you should probably alternate feeding so you're getting the best of both worlds.
I feel shame. I'm just
pointing out the obvious.
I know. 600 Rommel. Remember that movie, Patton? Rommel, you magnificent bastard! I read your book!
I read your book.
Yeah, Rommel wrote a book about tank warfare, and when Patton kicked his ass, he yelled, I read your book! He knew his secrets. Okay, just wondering, if I feed my plants... Okay, just was wondering if I feed and my plants are in pots outside. Oh, this is a good question. If my pots are in the rain, should I feed again? Or should I not feed again because they're wet? When you're doing outdoors, what do you do?
So I'm reading this as if they have outdoor plants, they just fed,
and then it
rained. Do I feed again today?
Because
That's a waste.
Yeah.
Because it's not all washing out unless you got like 6 inches of rain, but even then, don't add more water. You just got 6 inches of rain.
Yeah.
So I have another gentleman up in Portland who put his out pretty early and has had a few issues because it's been cold and rainy up there. But he also used a potting soil that had a super high pH, and so all this rain's been great because it's been neutralizing his pH.
Oh, nice, huh?
That's the only thing I really get worried about. Again, with this new whole alkalinity world, in the earth, I'm not concerned. We have so much calcium in this region in our soil that when it rains, the alkalinity isn't being stripped out. In a 5-gallon pot, that's not a lot of earth. That's a half a bag of soil.
Yeah.
So after about 9 weeks of that, you're going to reduce that alkalinity. For this Rommel, you're fine.
So now,
if it rains for 20 straight days, then they're doomed. But
So, but you really don't worry within a range. You're not worrying about over-watering or the moisture of the soil. It's not something you can control. So you just do the best you can.
The way to control is put a lid on top. If it's just like excessively rains for 10 straight days, probably wouldn't hurt to put a cover over the soil so it stops absorbing water. But no, I mean for the most part, a good healthy rain. There's nothing wrong with that, and I certainly wouldn't come immediately behind it and feed again because it's already saturated and the plants are going to slow down anyway. So just let them dry out, get them feeding next time they need a feeding.
Okay.
Don't waste your fertilizer, basically.
Josh Donnelly, I've got the number 8 soil. I haven't used it yet, but was wondering if it will be good to go or will I need to add anything? Would adding peat moss change anything?
It would change the pH. And the drainage and the structure, and other than that, it'd just be your choice to add more peat. But
No, I mean just so as far as like the charge of it or anything like that, or that's not the issue here with the peat. It would be the peat is the structure of the soil, and it's got peat in it. And we're like, if you like the number 8, great. If you don't, you make it what you want. But you're talking drainage issues and things like that.
Well, if that was the case, then just buy number 4.
Yeah.
It'll have more peat and cocoa and less perlite and pumice. But number 8 just has more perlite and pumice and less peat and core.
So,
but as far as like fertilizer charge, that's up to the folks. It's a mild fertilizer charge designed to work with the nutrients without burning, but it doesn't have a super soil standard to it, so it doesn't last months and months. So if you wanted to add more nutrients to it, as far as dry amendments, you certainly could add whatever you desire or you feel your plants desire. We put enough in there to balance what the early, mid, and late veg will give the plant.
So, would someone like maybe have a bag of number 8 and they don't want to go quite to the number 4 level of feeding? They want to push harder with the feedings, but they don't want to push as hard as a number 8, or they had a bad experience with it. You could mix a little peat in there to give yourself a little more buffer as far as your nutrients staying in the soil longer.
Yep.
So, do people do that? Is that a thing?
What they'll do is just buy all the components and mix it to their specs right out the gate.
Right.
I mean, I have a lot of guys that buy the number 4 and then add more perlite all the time, hence why we came out with 8. Just because there's enough people who said they wanted that we were like, well, if we made one that had that much more, would you guys buy it? And they're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. We're already buying the perlite anyway. So
why not get it composed,
So if there's enough of a call for it, we'll look into it. Like the 4-shot coming out, that was enough call that people are like, well, I buy your 1 shot and your number 4, and I blend them together every single time. Could you just make that? It's like, yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
That's what's in the works right now.
Cool. Hey, Bob. I've been trying to watch every episode of OCG and didn't see any information about how Nectar plays with organic farming practices such as FFJ, FPJ, and the like. If they are not only, I think it would be a great series. What's FFJ and FPJ? Do you know? FFJ.
I had to look it up. It's fermented fruit juice from Korean natural farming. So it's KNF style farming, working with basically like terpenes. Terpenes is a fermented fruit juice. And it puts out the terpenes of the fruit that you fermented and digested. So it's basically like Aphrodite's, but from fruit. skins and fruit juices versus milk carbon.
Kombucha?
Kombucha's vinegary, so you wouldn't want that.
No.
That could hurt some stuff. But fermented fruit, it's like almost to the wine without the alcohol.
Oh, okay.
So just digested fruit carbons. We have a lot of folks that run it in both. I mean, Korean natural farming is its own beast. So they believe in nothing that's been in a plastic bottle ever, and that's fine, and that's a killer method, but it wouldn't play well with that because of the plastic alone.
Yeah.
What was the FFJ and FF what?
FPJ.
FPJ. I just want to make sure I'm not being a silly person. So is it Fernando Poe Jr.? No. I don't know what FPJ is. Do you?
I didn't have any. I wouldn't even know where to look. But maybe it's a fermented thing. But I guess what I would guess that the answer might be for what you might say is that anything that works with more natural type inputs, it's probably going to.
So one's fruit juice and the other one's plant juice. So it's just fermenting. I mean, really, the KNF style growing is its own. It's like biodynamic farming, and when you get into that level of organics, there's nothing that plays well with that because it's a mindset. It's not even a mindset. It's an actual philosophy behind don't use anything that the earth didn't provide. The fact that my shit is in a bottle and gets shipped by a gasoline truck, dead. It's dead to KNF in that realm. Will it hurt anything in a KNF farm? Absolutely not. Will it promote growth and get more microbial activity? Sure, but will it destroy your KNF standards? Absolutely. It came in a plastic bottle with a diesel truck. So, unfortunately, if I was keeping my farm KNF certified or biodynamic certified, anything in plastic ever negates that concept. So, no.
But if I were doing some sort of thoughtful farming practice, this is like having a terrarium, basically. Like, you know that jug where they've got the cork in it and it just keeps growing? If I was doing that and I felt like I wanted to get a little more X, Y, or Z, and I was okay with it, philosophically, it's probably not a problem.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. Like, the guys who do super soils, the guy that do living soils, the guy that does no-till soils, our stuff works great with them. They never come back with any complaints. There's not a lot of residual leftovers from any of the inputs, and it's not harming the life that they put into the soil. But KNF is a thing. Philosophy of farming, and it's phenomenal.
Beautiful.
It's like amazing. You can go down rabbit holes for years with that one. It's just our philosophy, whether I believe 100%, which I do in that, but it's not efficient or effective for shipping the main from here.
Sure.
And there's guys that have offerings. It's just, ideally, no, you can't use anything used in plastics in a certain form of farming.
But like, there's some mini synthetic things that you would mix our stuff with, and you got goop. It's not going to work. This is not that. This is just a philosophical of like.
This is all philosophy. Yeah. Like if you were in a KNF group and you said, "Hey, I just put Herculean harvested," they would run you out with freaking, pitchforks and torches. I mean, they would set you on fire because they hate us that much. And we're not on any platform going, we're the ultimate of all natural and organic products. And if you're doing any other stuff, we don't give a shit what you do. Again, this is the thug pug of farming.
Live and let live.
KNF guys, stick with the philosophy. You can't be KNF and then have a plastic straws as your, the way you're taking out fertilizer. Just you have to practice the whole practice. And if you're doing fermentations, they're great. I mean, they really do a good number of jobs. A lot of people leave that style because it's a lot of work. We know. Yeah. We digest a lot of crap, and we know how much it takes to do so. So if you're trying to be efficient on a full farm, it's hard to be super efficient and trying to do all these ferments at the right timing. Well, hands up and high fives to every KNF farmer out there that's got their shit dialed in.
Well, and there's probably some spiritual rewards from that thoughtful practice.
It's a whole different. Your energy is so much a part of that style of farming. Between biodynamics and KNF, your entity is very much a moving piece to that machine, and a lot of people don't have that, deep inside them, so they don't even have the access to KNF farming because it's not in their heart.
But what you might discover from that, I guess, on a hippie type level, you won't if you're doing other things with it. Maybe
You can't.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
You're not following through. It's
Yeah.
You can't put diesel in a NASCAR. It just doesn't work.
Not gonna work.
No.
Ron Smith. Hey, Ron. I should say hey to everyone. Ron, lots of times he's had questions. Good questions. I have not watched the videos in a while during my surgery that I had last year, so I didn't really grow much in the end of the year until now. Usually I grow indoors. This year I would like to grow outdoors. I live in a metro area of Denver, and I was curious if there was a different regimen that I should use when using... I was using Romans indoor. I still like to use the Nectar for the God's Number 4 soil. I miss you guys. I need to start getting back into it. Aloha from Colorado. So, what's the thing when you go from indoors to outdoors? Same stuff?
There's no roof?
Well, I mean, would you vary your regimen any?
It depends. I mean, are you commercial farming or are you hobby farming? I mean, the nice thing about the sun is it's like 100 times a light bulb.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever you're used to in lighting, you get that much more outdoors.
Would you, if you did the same recipe indoors and then did it outdoors, you would use a lot more stuff outdoor, is that correct? Because it's just a bigger plant and because you got a lot more soil you're working with?
Well, it depends on how big a container you're in. If you put them in a 25-gallon indoor or outdoor, it's relatively the same. You might see a click up on nutrient uptake because the energy of the sun's so much more efficient. Okay. But for the most part, you'd be running a very similar package. I think the Roman is a little overkill for outdoor. I mean, if you have all the components, I would probably run the Greek and then spot in some of the Roman pieces personally, but that's just... It won't cost him any more to do an outdoor run. Actually, it'd be cheaper because he's not paying the electricity of the lighting. So take that piece out.
Then you got some more to work with the other way around. Now,
then you find evaporation's faster outdoors because now your environment is, especially in Colorado where you can have really low humidity rates. So that you might be irrigating a little bit more, and in turn you might need to feed a few more times. But for the most part, I mean, run what you want to run. Like I said, that giant 48,000 square foot outdoor farm that's doing full Roman in 55 gallons and, smiling to the bank. So, again, a million ways to skin a cat.
I have a couple questions. One, there feel like there used to be this stigma of, this doesn't taste like indo, this tastes like outdo. That if you were growing outside, that it wasn't as good. Would you say that it's your finished product?
It's a preference. I personally like the indoor better.
Yeah.
Only because you just get those notes and those depths, and if you have the right grower that's doing it, it's amazing what depth they can get in the flower. The same grower outdoor, it's great, but they're so big, they're so intense, and people tend to feed less outdoors because they are so big and so cost ineffective that they reduce some of the things that create all of that incredible flavor from the indoor. I've had some freaking amazing outdoor that I would have sworn was indoors, so I won't say that it can't be done, but I think most people, because outdoor is so much more water intensive, nutrient intensive, the sun's more intense, so everything's being used up faster and more aggressive grow. You tend to you lose some of those terpenes and some of those notes because of the aggressiveness of the growth of the plant and the explosive growth. They're not focusing on sitting down and just making oil. They're growing because the sun's making them grow to 12 feet tall. So I personally enjoy indoor.
But
cost effectiveness is outdoor. I mean, outdoor is way cheaper to buy in bulk. So what do you do? I like the more intense flavors. I like my nose hairs to burn from terpenes being too hot.
So could you put it in a smaller pot to make it not grow so big, or will it just get root down?
You can, but the downfall is if you're in a region that has good sun, it'll outgrow that pot, and then you're hydroponically growing it the entire season. And man, is that ever a pain in the pot? Because nothing where you don't want to transplant for week 4 and bloom, and they're all flowering, because then you're gonna have that week or two of shock. And if you're trying to feed them twice a day from August through September, good luck. You want to go on that last little vacation with your family? Too bad. You got to feed them 3 times because you're in a 7-gallon pot.
I've got a little tree out back in a pot. And every year it dies. Every year I lose the leaves halfway through the 1 week that I didn't water it, because there's always 1 week where I didn't water it. And it's a tree.
It hits a tree that's like, I'm supposed to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, they like to be irrigated, so I don't make small pots for outdoors, period. I mean, my minimal outdoor would be a 40-gallon pot, and even then, I'll be there won't be soil left at the end.
So then going the other way, why wouldn't I just dig a hole in the ground and fill it with soil and put it in there?
A lot of people do.
What's the advantage, disadvantage of just growing it in the ground?
Well, the disadvantage is what lives in the ground. It could be moles, gophers, rabbits, snakes.
Fair enough.
Who knows? One nick of that main stem, and that plant goes from this to this overnight.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of farms have that issue. If your ground soil is garbage, I know a lot of places in Oklahoma that are all firing off. We've had soil that's come back where you shouldn't even put sunflower seeds in it, so poisonous.
You shouldn't walk barefoot.
No, literally, like that plant should literally catch on fire because it should. So it's the soil contaminants, it's that kind of situation. But if you're in like the Willamette Valley on fallow land that's been 12 years fallow and it's gorgeous black humus soil, and you want to start with a swatch of potting mix, I would swatch right in there and let your roots grow out into the earth. There's nothing wrong with that. Most people don't do it because, like Southern Oregon, it's all sandy, rocky soil. So even if it goes out, they're just taproots. They're not eating anything. They're just grounded.
They're just growing until
they like to use it where the plants want to actually explore the soft soil, so they raise their beds and give their plants that much more room to work. And we have a lot of guys that build beds with open bottoms. Like a 3-foot bed tall with no bottoms, and the roots go down and really expand, but all the rhizome and all of the hyphae are up in that top level of that box, eating everything you feed through it. So,
but they're getting water or whatever from down below, and they're probably a little more. They're a little more stable. You got a buffer zone with that it's going to take care of itself if you're not taking care of it.
Yeah. Okay. You got 400 gallons of good potting mix, and you got 16 million tons of earth below it. So.
Okay. Awesome. Rodney M. Last question. Hey Bob, Rod from New Jersey again. Not related to the video here, but the next viewer question was Scott, okay? So really the first time using the line, and I asked Scott about the flush. I asked if he uses full-on in his. Last week, it is listed in the comprehensive feeding regimen with Herc and SLF 100. In various interviews, not Scott, I've heard some do, some don't. He doesn't like the flashing aspect. Can you ask?
That means flushing.
Flushing, probably.
I think it's a typo spelling of.
Because I was wondering about that. I thought that might be a thing because I see it a couple times in here. So flushing aspect. Can you ask what that is? He says flashing again, and maybe.
Well, that's it. I think I made a typo at one point.
Oh, you made a typo.
The definition of flashing.
Oh, I got
you. Bob. Flashing. Nipple shots.
I gotta say something.
But this is flushing.
Do you remember those videos they'd show, the Girls Gone Wild? How? I would not have believed until I saw this.
Show me that for the first time.
Who? Me?
Yeah.
You know what amazes me about those? Is who would think that you could make girls flashing their boobies boring? But somehow they managed to.
Ruined 20-year-old boobs.
Yeah. Well, they're like, after about the fourth one, you're like, okay, seen it.
Yeah. That's why I'm an ass man. Girls Gone Wild ruined it for me.
See?
All about the ass for me.
I would say with that, and I probably shouldn't be talking about this, but intellectually you can enjoy boobs. Butts speak to you.
What did you say, spiritually?
Speak to you. Butts are like you feel it.
Oh, yeah.
You think it with boobs, you feel it with butts.
Oh, yeah. Legs that go to here, I don't need kids.
No. Yep. Okay, that really, not the best, but okay.
It's a flashing and maybe a bit of time curing and manicuring.
So, I want to talk about that comprehensive feeding regimen for just a moment. That is the collective knowledge of everyone just put in there as a thing to put out there. When I built that, I just asked the SLF guy, the full-on guy, and every guy what they thought. And took what they thought and put it on there.
That comprehensive kit had the Microbe Life, the SLF, full-on, and what else? Any cultured or anything?
It had all the cultured, the full-on, it had all the Bigfoot mycorrhiza. It had everything in it. Everything that could have ever been called a Nectar FAM-ish type product was in there.
All right, so what's the question?
Would you?
So much shit talk going on in my head right now. I feel like a crazy person.
Would you put fullon?
You, Rodney.
Would you put fullon in your flush?
I have, and I don't. And
at the end,
I don't think it works. I don't think I need it. I use so much humic acid from Zeus, and I just forget to do it, and I didn't see a huge benefit in my flush. And plus, with our Herculean and Aphrodite's in my flush, I find I get way better flavors that way. I do find the benefit of fullon. I think there's a good micronutrient pack there. I see the availability is super available. And I know the guys that use it in synthetic flushes, like hydroponics with Advanced and TH at Botanicare and stuff, they do well with it, and they see a little reduction in their yield times because it's speeding up the metabolism rate. But our plants have already sped up their metabolism rate, so we're not shortening anything by adding the fullon. I get a lot of people going, I use fullon, everything looked great, except for it didn't finish 10 days early. Well, it's kind of really in our wheelhouse, so it's not going to change our plan. But if you're running a high synthetic line, it probably is going to make that more efficient, and you might end up faster yield.
Well, my feeling was it was the killer Magilla if you're doing synthetics. It's an excellent thing if you're using RO water, and it probably has more efficiency in a Nectar grow if you're doing Spartan than it does if you're doing Roman.
Oh, if you're doing Roman, then it's redundant.
Yeah.
If you're doing Greek, there's a place for it. If you're doing Spartan, it's a great product.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
I'm just reading the rest of his thing.
Oh, okay. Something about manicuring and lay it on me.
Well, it says like the difference between drying. See, and that's where this is a hard one.
Yeah.
Because he wants to know, like, what's the difference between drying a whole plant versus a cleaned up plant versus a fully manicured plant, then to dry it, or do you do this or that, or I've screwed up a lot of harvests with bad cures and bad trims and doing it too soon and too late. And there's so many different theories. And, I followed guys who I absolutely love their product, and I go, well, how do you do yours? And I follow their way, and it doesn't work for me. And I found the best way for me is about 3 to 4 days before I'm taking down, I take out all the big water leaves.
Yeah.
Take down all the rest of the big water leaves. Then I cut it at the stem, at the soil level, and I hang full plant, not root ball, but the full plant. A lot of people do full root ball. I think there's a benefit there. I don't like cleaning all the dirt off the root. I'm cleaning the butt, and I'm hanging those things upside down. That dirt's falling on the flower. So you literally have to wash those roots. I think you get a better full plant flavor, root ball and all drying together. I just cut it with no water leaves, and then I let it get kind of crispy. Then I do a quick bag cure until they're dry, and then I do a dry trim myself. But so many people do it so many different ways. And
is humidity the X factor a lot of times?
The humidity and temp, balancing those two are really ideal, and not, cranking up a dehu to 20% humidity, that's going to destroy it. And that makes it taste really bad. And then too slow, it just keeps that chlorophyll flavor for too long. And then the real key is that, when to take it off the stem and put it into jars or bags. That's literally, I think, the sweet spot.
Oh. That's where you could, Yeah,
I mean, that's where you're taking it where it still has moisture content. Then you seal it so that moisture reconstitutes the dry outside. That cracks open terpenoids, which then explode that terpene flavors and aromas, and they start recycling that air, and then that's how you get that really intense, flavorful, aromatic jars. But, I've done it so many times where I did it too soon, you open it up, and it smells like hay. It's like, nah, man, that sucks. It's the whole jar of garbage I don't want to taste.
So you feel like with good product, you want a little moisture still in it even when you get done, but too much and you ruin the whole thing.
It ruins it for me. Again, it's like guys do it so many different ways, and it's a hard one to teach because your environment, your humidification, your temperature, your lights. I mean, everything changes this concept. My favorite ones are when I just took them out of the room and threw them in a dark room for 14 days and let them die in the pot. They're already done, but they dry and cure in a room that has no lights, nothing, and they just cycle out until they're done.
Oh!
Those are the best tasting ones because they naturally finish like an apple left on the tree after fall. It's like, holy crap, that's the best damn apple on the tree. But, who's got a 20 by 20 room that can just throw a bunch of plants in to die? It's not going to happen. So I've actually had a guy build a hallway between his bloom rooms to put his plants in to die. So when they're done, he just sticks them in there and lets them go through another 2 weeks of cycle with no water, no light, no nothing, and they just die. But his cure is amazing. But again, who knows? Who knows the perfect way to do it?
Okay. Any more in there? Is that it?
I think so. I just got one in. I use your products for tomato plants. Do you have a recipe for lawn tonics? For my lawn, I would get a big old hose end sprayer, and I'd put Gaia in it, and I'd put Zeus in it, and I'd spray that at like the 1 ounce per gallon rate on my lawn. And the humics build up that humates in the soil that triggers fungal growth in the root zone. The Gaia is a natural all-purpose food, but honestly, go out and buy granulated bone meal and limestone, put it on your lawn. There's the best tonic you'll ever put on there. Michael Mushy Pretty. That's his email.
Mushy Pretty.
Mushy Pretty. So that's that. Soon we will have the alkalinity thing. OCGFAM is building and sourcing out parts to be able to offer these things online soon. And once we know we have incoming and we can put these on the website, we'll have those videos ready to go. I know a lot of people are itching to see the pig video because it just is it's just a good representation of what this stuff can do. And then from there, we're just going to keep playing with these meters as they come in and help teach people how to use them. So hopefully one of these viewer questions soon will be, hey, I got my alkalinity meter from OCGFAM and it came at 22. What do I do next? I want to be able to get that whole episode on helping people get their alkalinity right and then get a follow-up video of just how well did that do. But boy, are we excited over here. And at our local farms, they are just, we're going to see a really interesting, great, profitable year from this. So, yeah. That's what I got.
Okay, that's a show.
That's a show.
The OCGFAM show. It's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCGFAM show. See you tomorrow.